In the next couple of videos, I'm going to officially end the remedial math course that I've been given here on YouTube. The main reason is that I feel that now you're prepared to go straight into calculus. Now keep in mind that if you don't watch Euclid's Elements, you're still not going to understand calculus. But as far as the arithmetic goes, once I teach you what I'm going to teach you in the next couple of videos, then you'll be ready arithmetic-wise for calculus. So, let's get to work here. We're going to talk about the quadratic formula, and you may have to ask a math teacher to give a little further explanation, but I am going to teach you as much as I can, and then your math teacher will just take right on over. But, you have an equation here, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now, these a, b, and c right here are numerical coefficients. And do you remember me talking to you about that in a previous video? If you don't, go back to it. Learn what a numerical coefficient is, then come back to this. But if you do know what a numerical coefficient is, then we can get back into this. Alright, we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract c from both sides of this equation. So now you'll have ax squared plus bx equaling negative c. Now I presume you remember how to deal with negative numbers, so there you go. If you don't, you can go back to one of my previous videos and learn. Now, the next thing we're going to do, as you'll see here, we have x squared plus b over a x equaling negative c over a. What we have done here is we have divided all three of these terms by the letter a. Okay? And so now you have x squared plus b being the numerator, a being the denominator, b over ax equaling negative c over a. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a number. Alright? And this number could be 2, 5, 7, doesn't matter. But we're going to actually use variables instead of real numbers to create this number. Now, this is a number that we don't know. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to take this b over a. See this b over a right here? We're going to multiply it by 1/2. And when we do, we get b over 2a. Then we're going to square b over 2a. Alright? Now, after creating this number, we're going to add this number to both sides of the equation. And if you'll remember, if you add 5 and 2 together on one side of an equation, and you add 5 and 2 together on the other side of an equation, you'll get 7. And let me illustrate here. If you have an equation where 5 equals 5, say you have an equation here on the bottom that says 5 equals 5. If you add, let me show it to you one more time, 5 equals 5. If you add 2 to both sides of the equation, and I talked about this in a previous video, if you add 2 to each side of the equation, well, what's going to happen is you're now going to have an equation where 7 equals 7. You started with 5 equals 5, you added 2 to both sides of the equation, and therefore 7 equals 7. But that has very little to do with what we're going to do now. So I'm going to just kind of erase that part of it. Alright. Let's go on here. You see how we have b over 2a squared here? We are actually adding this to this side of the equation, and we're going to add this to this side of the equation. So we're adding actually the same amount here, which is the b over 2a squared, to both sides of this equation. So now you have x squared plus b over ax plus b over 2a squared. And on this side of the equation, you have negative c over a plus b over 2a squared. All right. I don't know whether you noticed it or not, but this is a perfect square trinomial. And what that means is that if you were to take, and I'm going to show you here, if you were to multiply this out, and I showed you this in a previous video, what you do is x times x gives you x squared. B plus 2a plus b plus 2a actually gives you 2b over 2a. See how that goes? Now what we're going to do is we're going to cancel out the 2 like that, and we get b over a. So that's how we got this second term, b over ax. And then, of course, if you multiply b over 2a times b over 2a, you're going to have b over 2a squared. All right. So, x plus b over 2a squared equals negative c over a plus b over 2a squared. Now, I'm going to continue this in part 2 of this video. What I want you to do is, I'm going to circle this right here. I want you to write this part down. See all this? I want you to write it right now. I want you to write this whole thing right now. And the reason why is because I'm going to continue this in part 2 from here. Alright? So write that equation down, and I will continue this in my next video. Stay tuned.